Where did the Igbo people originally come from? This question has fascinated scholars, historians, and the Igbo themselves for centuries. Over the past 50 years, many researchers, especially African scholars, have pushed back against the misconception that the Igbo lacked an interest in their history. And through archaeology, linguistics, and oral tradition, new light has been shed on Igbo history. But just like the origin of the word Igbo, the true descent of the Igbo people is still debated, as none of the origin theories put forward has been fully proven. In this video, we will look at the three main theories on the Igbo people's origin: the internal migration theory, the Far East origin or external migration theory, and the Autochthonous or always been here hypothesis. At the end of the video, we will speculate on the most credible of these theories, and you can let me know the theory you find most convincing in the comment section. Please take a moment to like this video. Your support means everything to me. Thank you. The Igbo people are one of the major ethnic groups in Nigeria, with their homeland located in the southeastern region of the country. They inhabit an area divided by the Niger River into two unequal sections. In pre-colonial era, the Igbo lived in decentralized communities, often organized into village groups or clans. There was no sense of a pan-Igbo consciousness until the advent of colonialism. Actually, the word Igbo may have originally meant community. Because of this decentralized nature, pinpointing the origin of the Igbo people is a bit more complicated than usual. The internal migration theory of Igbo origins suggests that the Igbo people emerged from within present-day Nigeria. According to this theory, early Igbo groups, mainly hunters and gatherers, likely migrated gradually from areas around the Niger-Benue confluence into their current homelands around 4000 to 3000 BC. This theory is supported by a combination of archaeological and linguistic evidence. The archaeological site at Ugwale in Abia State, one of the largest ancient stone tool manufacturing sites in West Africa, shows continuous human occupation from 2935 BC to AD 15. The lowest level of this site is said to show evidence that humans inhabited the region as far back as 250,000 years ago. Meanwhile, the findings at the Nsukka and Afikpo archaeological sites revealed early Iron Age settlements with dates that overlapped with the upper level of the Ugwale site. Pottery shards found at all these sites resemble contemporary Igbo pottery in form and decoration. This evidence points to indigenous development by the Igbo in the southeastern region. Linguistically, the Igbo language belongs to the Kwa subgroup of the Niger-Congo family, which likely branched out from the Niger-Benue area, and the Igbo language is supposed to have started separating from its parent languages around 6000 BC. Linguists argue that the spread and diversification of Igbo dialects suggests a long period of settlement rather than recent external migration. Based on the theory of internal migration, the Igbo have been living in their homeland since at least the 3rd millennium BC. The second theory, and a relatively recent one, is the external migration theory. It suggests that the Igbo people are descendants of Jews who migrated from the Far East, possibly Egypt, or preferably Israel. Colonial-era scholars like Plessy and Murray Talbot theorized that the Nubian Wars of Amenemhat, or the conquest of Egypt by Hyksos around 1870 BC, pushed people south and west, some of whom ended up in present-day Nigeria. The theory gained traction partly due to what is seen as cultural similarities between the Igbo and ancient Hebrews. Such similarities include practice of circumcision, animal sacrifice, and certain linguistic patterns in Hebrew and Igbo languages. British missionaries in the 20th century like George Baston even compared Igbo customs to Levitical practices in the Bible. He suggested that some elements of Igbo religion and language may have Jewish roots. The Stigmatist, Innocent Okorie, expanded on this idea, identifying Shechen Igbo in Judea as the original Igbo town before migration and tracing a full migration path from Judea to Igboland with specific names, dates, and locations. Even though this theory has become popular in some circles, especially among Igbo Christians, it lacks strong archaeological or linguistic support and is viewed with caution by many historians today. One can also say it resembles the typical colonial viewpoint that anything good in the black race must have come from outside. The third theory, the autochthony hypothesis, holds that Igbo people are indigenous to southeastern Nigeria and never migrated from anywhere else. According to some scholars, archaeological findings suggest that the Igbo have lived in their present homeland from the dawn of human history. Researchers like the archaeologist Donald Hartle and the historian Adiele Afikpo support this view, referencing the dating of several archaeological findings, especially the prehistoric site at Onwuejeogwu, that indicate that the Igbo have lived in the region for more than 6,000 years. And as noted by the author, Elizabeth Isichei, the people of the areas regarded as the Igbo heartland, that is Okorie, Okigwe, Olu, and Oka, have no known migration myths that trace their origin to any foreign land. While some theories connect forms of the name Igbo, such as Ndi-Igbo, to mean the ancients, if we consider the antiquity of the archaeological evidence across Igbo territory, we have to come to the conclusion that Igboland has been occupied for far longer than the migration theory suggests. The excavations at the Stone Age site at Onwuejeogwu revealed 3 cultural layers on top of each other, with radiocarbon dating placing the earliest layer at circa 2935 BC, and the oldest layer is tentatively suggested to be as old as 250,000 years old. This means this site is definitely much older than 5,000 years old, older than the Amenemhat wars that triggered some migration, and even older than Jacob, the father of the tribes of Israel in the Bible. The Stone Age to Iron Age progression, seen in the archaeological records from Onwuejeogwu to Afikpo, Nsukka, and IgboHistory sites, shows the Igbos specifically had been in continuous occupation of the region. All artifacts excavated are similar in style and uniquely Igbo. To me, it seems the Igbo people sprung from their current homeland. After all, the earliest human ancestors are said to have emerged in Africa. On the other hand, if God can create an Adam and Eve for Eden, why can't he create an Igbo person in Africa? I rest my case. Which theory do you find most convincing? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching.